Well, what a great round of NRL we've just had. Fascinating in so many ways. We've just finished round 25. We know who the minor premiers are. We still don't know who's going to finish at the bottom and win that wooden spoon. We've said goodbye to a Warriors legend playing his final game at home. And we've got had a number of contentious referee decisions over the weekend. A few upsets. I mean, the competition is still very unpredictable and alive. We don't know quite how the top 4 is going to be, or the top 8 as well. But let's have a quick look through each game. I'll give you a couple of thoughts on every game. Make this one pretty quick, and then we'll have a quick look at the ladder at the end of the round. So the first game of the round was West Tigers versus Sea Eagles, and quite an upset here, really. I thought the Sea Eagles were going to win this pretty comfortably, certainly after the start they had, scoring 3 tries in around that first 20-22 minutes. And there was a few games like this in the round where one team would be leading, say, at 20 minutes and then lose by the end of the game. So certainly if you bet that, you'd be doing very well. But the Tigers got right back into this after that 22nd minute. To be fair, the Seagulls did help them. There was 3 sin bins in the game. The halftime score was 12-16, and so the Seagulls scored 3 tries, and then the Tigers scored 5 before the Seagulls scored again. Tommy Turbo scoring 3 tries, and certainly the Tigers getting up for this one in Leichhardt. Aiden Caesar, I think, now is out for the rest of the season with a sore shoulder, I think it is. But certainly the Tigers have played a few good games of late, and I definitely didn't see that coming. I've written the Tigers off for the rest of the year. They didn't look like they were going to beat anybody, and here they are. I think they've won 2 games in the last few. So, pretty impressive performance by the young Tigers here. And the Seagulls, they're still in the top 8. We'll have a look at that ladder shortly, but they'll look at this one and think, well, that was one that an opportunity we missed. And then the first Friday night game was the Warriors versus the Bulldogs at Go Media Stadium, or Mount Smart Stadium, renamed Shaun Johnson Stadium for the final home game of the year, being Shaun Johnson's last home game. The Warriors have one more game before the end of the year because they have a bye in round 27. The Warriors had a great start. They scored 2 unanswered tries in the first 20 minutes. I had a bet on for them to do that, which was quite nice. I thought they'd start well and then fade. They did, but they didn't just fade. The wheels basically fell off. And to be fair, a couple of refereeing decisions went against them. One in particular, Stephen Crichton, shoulder on head contact, and the referee's boss coming out this week coming out after the game saying that Stephen Crichton should have been sent to the sin bin, and there was another incident or 2 throughout the round where the players that did a similar thing went to the bin as well. And that was a pretty, I guess, important moment. I know that both centres for the Warriors did end up with injuries, or certainly Tuivasa Sheck had his HIA and he didn't come back, so huge disadvantage there. A bit of a momentum swing as well. I mean, the Warriors were reasonably in the game right up until that last 10 minutes or so. But yeah, certainly the Bulldogs are a proper good operation this year. They are definitely the biggest improvers from last year. I've said that before in previous videos, but they made quite a few uncharacteristic errors in that first 20 minutes, of course, giving the Warriors the advantage. The Warriors were pumped up about this game and everything they were playing for, with 3 players not there next year, Jazz Tavanga and Aden Whenua-Blake as well. But they just worked their way back into the game and were easily the better team. The Warriors, I mean, Shaun Johnson will be disappointed with the season that he's leaving on, certainly the last few games. And I've said it before, and I'll do a full season review for the Warriors later, but the result would have been different, I think, if Te Maire Martin was playing. But look, anyway, something just hasn't been right in the setup for the Warriors. Something's just not quite there. They'll have to hopefully address that next year, but certainly the Bulldogs are a class outfit and you have to be on your game to beat them. But disappointing that the referee decision or two or more played or contributed to the result, but certainly the Warriors just don't know how to finish the game and seal it. But certainly a disappointing effort, and the Warriors have been losing. They've had a pretty long run of losses at the moment. Bulldogs still playing for that top 4 spot. Broncos versus the Eels. Again, I think this is 3 games in a row where one team goes out to a pretty solid lead and then gives that up to lose. You know, the Eels had a great start. I think this is one of the best starts to any game of the NRL this year for any team. It was that good. They were just absolutely pumped and firing. They scored 3 tries in the first 10 minutes, and then after the half-hour mark, the Broncos just completely turned it on. Adam Reynolds absolutely leading the way. No Reece Walsh, no Payne Haas. But definitely Adam Reynolds just steps up, and the Broncos are still a chance to make the top 8. I had written them off a few weeks ago, but they have turned it around. I think I wrote them off when they got pumped by the Titans a few weeks back, but they've beaten the Cowboys. Now they've beaten the Eels, but they were at home. It'll be a massive game for the Broncos versus the Dolphins this weekend. But Adam Reynolds is an absolute gun, isn't he? He pretty much single-handedly controlled and turned that game around. So the Eels will be disappointed. Another one where they've started well and then let it go. I think they started really well against the Storm, but of course, you know, the Storm pretty hard to beat at any time. But anyway, so 30-24, Broncos winning. It wasn't as comfortable. I think the Eels had they were 6 points behind with about 7 or 8 minutes to go, so they were still right in the game to the end. So massive result for the Broncos, and it puts them in with a shot of the top 8. The Raiders beating the Panthers 22-18 in Canberra. This was an upset based on odds. I mean, no Cleary for the Panthers. Look, this one was just a bit of a backwards and forwards one, up until the Raiders scored the last 2 tries in the last 30 minutes or 20 minutes or so. And Jamal Fogarty leading the way. I think he played pretty well. Certainly the pace of Xavier Savage was notable, scoring 2 tries and one being a runaway. But the Raiders, they stuck it out. It was a grind, and that suits the Raiders. And the Panthers, you could tell they were missing Nathan Cleary, and didn't score for the last 35 minutes. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't be too worried if I was the Panthers, but they've certainly, have they lost 2 in a row? Nathan Cleary, it's a noticeable omission, but he will be back for the finals. I think the Panthers are in 4th spot, so the minor premiership is now gone. But anyway, they might prefer to go under the radar. Who knows? You just have to play it how it is at the moment, don't you? So great win for the Raiders. I think they're still with a shot for the top 8, but we'll have a quick look at that later. Storm demolishing the Dolphins in an absolutely one-sided display. A lot of play early on was going Cameron Munson's way, but certainly for the majority of the game after that, Jerome Hughes had a play on absolutely everything. Harry Grant was awesome to start off with, scoring a good try for a dummy half. But yeah, the Storm, I don't know, it's hard to see anyone being able to beat them. They are minor premiers now comfortably, and I think they can get better. They've still got a couple of players injured at the moment, but lots of depth with Tyran Wishart, of course, Nelson Asifa Solomonis, 200th game, and then but also Tyran Wishart's 50th at the club as well. But quite a big night for them at home, and yeah, doing it comfortably. I mean, the Dolphins didn't score until the 66th minute when the game was long gone by then. Very impressive performance by the Storm, I must admit, and they are playing some pretty exciting rugby league. Jack Howarth is worth a mention, and Fa'alonga. I mean, the young guys are stepping up, aren't they? But Jack Howarth, a big young kid out in the centres, is playing really well. He's the standout for me, and one to watch out for keep an eye out for the future. Absolutely. And then we had the Rabbitohs versus the Knights. Yeah, the poor bunnies. I thought the Knights, they should win this, right? If you're looking at it on paper. No Cody Taylor for the Rabbitohs. That was very, very noticeable. I thought Damien Cook would step up. He played quite a bit of a running game in that first half, but didn't offer too much on attack from a frustrating point of view for me. I wanted a bit more out of him from my fantasy team. But also Cameron Murray played an absolute blinder. I mean, he has been awesome since he's come back from injury. He's a class player with his sin bin. Still was involved in almost everything throughout the game, and pretty key on attack as well, of course, without Cody Taylor or Latrell Mitchell too, for that matter. Jack Whiten did lead the charge for a fair chunk of that game. He gave it a lot. He scored a try and was trying to lead that attack as well, but the Knights were way too strong. Kalen Ponga definitely sort of stepping up and being involved in that game. Dane Gagai was a key man. He scored 2 tries. And Jack Cogger coming in as a replacement in the halves, scoring twice, but playing a pretty key role as well. So look, the poor bunnies, they've really battled this year, haven't they? And this is just an example of that. Their season this game was a reflection of their season, just fading away into nothing. But anyway, it's Titans versus the Roosters, another very one-sided game. It was all the Roosters, their attack, certainly from half-time. I think it was, what was the score at half-time? 26-10. Now, look, I mean, the Roosters, they dominated pretty much from the outset. Angus Crichton had one of his best games of the year, which is saying something because he's had a lot of really good games. He scored 3 tries, but just can't. It's hard to tackle the bloke. And David Fifita for the Titans is really struggling. I don't know. He's just not playing with much energy at the moment whatsoever. Khan Pereira scoring 3 tries out of the 4 Titans tries. Jaden Campbell kicking pretty well. I think AJ Brimson back helps, but certainly I think any team's going to struggle against the Roosters. They are a top 4 side for sure, top 3 side. And yeah, look, they could cause some upsets in the top 2, I guess, with the Panthers and Storm, if you know what I mean. The Roosters are a proper challenger this year. So we'll wait and see. They've still got a couple of niggles with injury, and I'm not sure what's going to happen with Jared Warrior-Hargraves with being sin-binned as well. He's potentially in line for a suspension. But 44-28, Roosters winning very, very comfortably. Then we had the final game of the round, which was Dragons versus Sharks, which a lot of people would have thought this would be pretty close. The Dragons have been tracking pretty well this year. The other big improvers, the Dragons and the Bulldogs being the 2 main improvers since last year. Dragons at home in Wollongong. But the Sharks, I mean, they had Braden Trindle back from injury, and he was pretty key man, wasn't he? I think he was probably certainly gave the Sharks a significant boost, but the Sharks are a solid all-round team this year, and I think they'll only get better with Nico Hines back, I think this week or next, but certainly by finals time. One sin bin to Jesse Ramian, but 14-6 at half-time. I mean, the Dragons were in the game for a fair bit of that first half, but that second half was all the Sharks pretty much. What is 14? No, it would have been 14-10 after half-time, but then the Sharks sort of ran away with it after that. They had a bit of a field day and seemed to score from anywhere, but very entertaining second half to watch. And the Sharks winning comfortably. So let's have a quick look at the table. I know you can't see this, but the Storm first on 42 points. They are minor premiers. That will not change. We've got the Roosters in second place at the moment. Sharks in third, both leapfrogging the Panthers, who lost in an unpredictable one against the Raiders. They're all 3 of those teams, though, are on 36 points. And therefore, there could be still a bit of a change around points differential. Panthers quite a bit further back based on based on their scores scoring 4. Bulldogs 5th. They are a possible chance of going into the top 4. They're 1 win behind the top 4. Cowboys have moved up a spot into 6th with their bye. That's pretty handy. So they're on 32, and then you got Seagulls in 7th, losing of course to the Tigers. They're on 31, but I think they're pretty comfortable to make it the top 8. Yeah, the Broncos can't pass the Seagulls. Broncos, Dolphins and Knights all just out of and the Raiders all on 26 points. 1 win out of the top 8. The Dragons are on 28 points now. Obviously losing on the weekend to the Sharks doesn't help their cause. That opens the door for someone else. So very fascinating final 2 rounds. The Dragons have the Eels next week. They should put them away. But yeah, so that, and then the Broncos have the Dolphins. So that is pivotal. I think whoever loses that is basically gone for the season. Knights have the Titans, who are out of the competition now. They won't make finals, and the Raiders are up against the Roosters. That is pretty much. The Roosters should come away with that one pretty comfortably. And then the Warriors, Rabbitohs, Eels and Tigers are all out of it, long gone. Let's have a quick look at the wooden spoon. You've got the Eels versus West Tigers. They're on 16 each. Tigers have a bye, so they'll go to 18. And then it could come down to the last round of the season where they play each other. The Eels are likely to lose against the Dragons. So that would mean they remain at 16. So if the Eels beat the Tigers in the last round, they would be both on 18 each, and points for and against, the Eels have that advantage. Going to be a fascinating couple of last rounds. I'll make another video probably on Wednesday night just about the upcoming round, so please look out for that. But very enjoyable round of football, and I think it's just getting better and better as we get to the finals. Awesome, thank you for that. Enjoy.